Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a flip through of my 2024 reading journal for the first quarter of the year. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, we're going to be doing a flip through of my 2024 reading journal for the first quarter of the year. I love putting my reading journal together. This is the third year that I am doing a reading journal. It to me is just so much fun. It's such a great creative outlet and it's something that has just been such a gift to me. I feel like, especially this year when I've just had a lot of things happening in my life in the first quarter of the year, and being able to lean on something like this that's a creative pursuit has been wonderful. This journal itself is an Archer and Olive Sarah Cray collab journal. This is an A5 size. I always use A5 size for my reading journal. I absolutely fell in love with this cover and knew when I saw this that I wanted this to be my reading journal for 2024. I did put my name in the front with a sticker from According to Allie. And then I have my cover page here. I do have a flip through of the intro pages of this reading journal prior to me starting to fill it out for the year. So I'll quickly go through the intro pages, but we're going to focus more on January, February, March. I did put part one here because last year I did need 2 reading journals throughout the year. One goal that I had for 2024 was to find a way to kind of slim this down a bit. And I did find a way to do that, which I'll comment on a little bit later. I do have my TBR right in the front and have been able to check off some stuff that's on here, which is very, very exciting. I do have some room left, but not a ton of room. But if I do end up with a part 2 of this for the second half of the year, I anticipate doing what I did last year, which is instead of 8 pages, maybe 6 pages. And then I do have my Reading Rainbow spread here. This is always one of my favorite spreads in my reading journal. I use this stamp from Studio Calico, and every time I finish a book, I fill in a book spine using my key here. I went with different colors for this year, and I'm so glad that I did. I do have a couple filled in for April already, but as you can see, I did pretty decent in January, February, and March. Definitely reading less this year than I did last year, which I was anticipating, and I'm totally fine with. We do have my IG challenge spread. I have read the books for the first 3 months of the year. And then my A to Z challenge here, which I don't pick books intentionally to get through this challenge. It's just something that I fill in throughout the year if it happens to work. Next, I have a genre challenge, which is new for me for 2024. I'm actually realizing I do have to fill in a second book for poetry. I only need 1 book to fulfill the challenge, but I do have 2 lines available to me in each genre, so I have been using that. I have my fantasy challenge. I want to read 1 fantasy book every month of the year, which I've been able to do. And then I want to read 3 nonfictions this year, or 6 nonfictions this year. I've read 2 so far. And then I have my 24 books in 2024 challenge. This is new for me this year. I have been able to read a decent amount. Basically, if it's 24 books over a year, I should be reading 2 of these books a month. So we should have read at least 6 of them. And I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm a little ahead of schedule, which is great. And then I do have my book bracket spread here. I actually haven't filled in my favorite book for March, but that was Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. And then we're going to go into January. So I have been doing plan with me's for my intro pages for each month in my reading journal. I'm actually getting ready to fill my April one once I finish with this flip through. I love the way these intro pages have been coming out. I definitely went with like a different style and a different vibe this year, but I'm absolutely loving it. I've been going with a 2-page monthly spread. I'm not gonna lie, don't know that I love this. I do think it's a lot easier for me to visually see things when I had my 1-page spread that I did last year, but I am gonna stick with the 2-page for at least the first 6 months of the year. And then I go straight into my book spreads, which I am definitely doing different this year than I have in past years. I am sticking with kind of a watercolor picture of the cover of the book, but instead of having it on cardstock, I'm actually using sticker paper. So that's what has allowed me to kind of slim down my pages a ton. And then instead of having it in a square, I'm doing it in the full form of the cover, which I like. I am definitely adding a little bit more detail with stamping in the titles. It definitely takes more time to do that, but I'm enjoying doing it. And then I'm including on each page how I read the book, and then also if I reviewed the book. And most of these do have quotes, but some of them don't if they were arcs and I didn't either have a quote that I underlined or something while I was reading it, and then there was no quotes on Goodreads. And then I'm doing a 2-page recap page. I love the way my January one came out, even though I did like smear the ink under the page numbers. And in doing this, I'm not writing in genres in my recap page, but I am focusing on a top 3 books for every month. So for January, my number 1 book was The Atlas Complex, number 2 was The Bullet Swallower, and number 3 was Powerless. And then I'm putting a quote from my favorite book of the month towards the bottom of the page. For February, I did want to go with pinks because of Valentine's Day. So I went for more of a monochromatic look in my intro pages. And then again, right into my book specific pages, we did have my first and so far only DNF of the year in February. One thing that I am doing different about my individual book spreads is that instead of having like a color theme for the month or a washi theme for the month throughout the book spreads, I'm really trying to focus it on the colors in the book cover. So for like Binding 13, it's obviously very blue, so the stars are very blue. I didn't have a blue washi that matched with this very well, so that's why I just went with more of a neutral one. You know, Keeping 13 has more orange in it, so we went with that here. Something like Have I Told You This Already has this hot pink, so I went with a hot pink washi and hot pink for the rating. So I definitely tried to do that or be more intentional about that. And then I really love my February recap pages, but I just felt like the top 3 took up so much room, this header, that I had like no room at the bottom. So I really kind of had to squeeze in this quote down here. But my top 3 books for February were Binding 13, Keeping 13, and then The Book of Doors. I loved all 3 of those books. I had a bunch of 5-star reads in February, which was very, very exciting. And then here we have March and my finished monthly spread. And then we go right into my book specific spreads. I actually didn't have any 5-star reads in the month of March, which was kind of a bummer, but I did have several books that I enjoyed. Like I really liked Swift and Saddled. I really liked Listen for the Lie. I really liked How to End a Love Story. So there were definitely books that I really, really enjoyed, but there was also a lot of like 3 and 3.5 star reads for me in the month of March. My favorite book was Firekeeper's Daughter, like I mentioned earlier. That was a 4.5 star for me. And then I have my recap page here. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a huge fan of the way this recap page came out. It just feels kind of light on the deco for some reason. And I think a part of it is that somehow like this got so spaced out here that I wasn't able to include any like washi like I have the last 2 months of the year. So I'm wondering if that's why it seems like so light in terms of the deco. Also, same thing, like this top 3 took up so much room and I definitely could have fit it on one line. I don't know why I didn't think to do that. So thank gosh that Firekeeper's Daughter had a quote that was super short that I really, really loved, which was inaction is a powerful choice. That was able to fit like all on one line because I basically had no room for a quote. But that's the first 3 months of the year. I I love the way that this reading journal is coming out. Like, I love the way my book specific spreads are coming out. I love that I've changed it up from the last couple of years. I'm enjoying filling in my TBR. I'm enjoying filling in my reading rainbow. I'm having a lot of fun with trying to fulfill my different reading challenges. And yeah, so far I feel like the first 3 months of the year with regards to reading have been really enjoyable. Again, not reading as much as I have maybe in the last couple years, but I'm totally okay with that. I really want to focus more on quality versus quantity this year. And I feel like even though I didn't have any 5-star reads in March, overall, I'm reading a lot of books so far this year that I'm really, really enjoying. So, hoping to bring that energy into the next quarter of 2024. I hope that you all enjoyed this flip through. If you have any questions about my reading journal, please don't hesitate to put a comment down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.